Landers, Rapp, Beats, Schrader.
Here.
All right, we have no visitors. Could we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so moving to our consent agenda. We have a motion for, oh wait, we don't have a motion for, well, it's so weird now that we have this online thing. We need the motion first for our regular meeting agenda.
I make motion to approve our regular meeting agenda.
I will second that.
Roll call.
Haas,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Comitas,
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Okay. There's someone screaming. Okay.
No.
Now we can have a motion for our consent agenda, please.
I make motion to approve our consent agenda, disposition of minutes for August 2022, payment of bills, district treasurer's report, inputs and activity, fund, and personnel report.
Right?
Yes, and cafeteria report, please.
And second, and then roll call.
Kane,
Yes.
Comitas, Schrader, Haas.
Yes.
Moving on to our informational items. Do we have any FOIA requests? Mr. Cox?
No.
Okay. Administrative report. Superintendent, Northbrook.
So that means I get to go first, they get to go second.
Okay.
So, budget presentation, which is, I tell you, it's all good. It's literally all good. So, what we're gonna do, bless you, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at, how we matriculated through last year. We're gonna talk about this year. We're gonna talk about where we kind of sit big picture, and we're going to, also talk about the impact of ESSER federal funding. Okay. So, when we look at last year's revenue, originally we had budgeted for 13 million, we actually got 15 million, and that sounds fantastic. An extra $2 million showed up, right? Half of that's actually true. If you recall, we actually got received $1 million in CPPRT funding that was completely unanticipated. The other 1.2 million that wasn't budgeted, those are ESSER funds. And so we definitely had a good year revenue-wise, even without our ESSER funding. On the expenditure side, we budgeted 14.3, we spent 15.3, and that difference is not quite $1 million, and you're like, well, how did we spend $1 million more than we had planned on? Actually, 1.7 million of that was ESSER funding. And so a large amount of our HVAC project was paid in the last fiscal year on last year's budget when we originally didn't have that planned and figured. And so when you put the two together, revenues and expenditures, then you're looking at that 1 year. Did we have a deficit? Did we have a surplus? What's going on last year? We were budgeted to overspend by about 600,000. We actually put 600,000 in the bank. So that's a really good year. And again, those two big things. How does ESSER money fall in? And then of course, that CPPRT. So, I like to think school finance can be as completely complicated as you want to make it, right? And so I try to put it in terms of a single number. If we wanted to have access to all of our funds, how much money do we have in the bank, right? And so if you look at June 30th, that's the end of our fiscal year, and I like to look at the same spot in the year over time. And so if you look at the end of fiscal year, you can see that in the summer of 18, we had 8 million in the bank, 19 went to 8.7, then we were almost 9. Then last year we dropped to 8.5, or sorry, year before last. And then with last year, us putting that $600,000 in the bank, now we're back up over 9 million again, 9.1. So now looking at what does this year look like? So again, when you look at this ESSER funding piece, you're talking about $3.5 million that it gets distributed over basically a 2-year period. And some of those revenues and expenditures hit on different sides of that end of fiscal year, okay? Which means that even though we've been super thankful for these additional dollars, they're gonna kind of wreck these 2 years' budgets when it comes to kind of planning a little bit, right? So last year's revenues, we were at not quite 16 million. We're budgeting not quite 19 million for this year. That increase of almost $3 million. When you break that down, 2.5 million of that is ESSER funding. So we're still looking at a healthy increase, just not nearly the $3 million that we have on paper. When you look at the expenditure side, last year's actual is 15.3 million, having an increase to almost 19 million. Again, 1.9 million of that is ESSER related, and the other 900,000, and another 900,000 of that are summer projects that weren't covered by federal funds. So of that, what's that number, 3.6 million that we plan on spending this fiscal year compared to last. 2.8 of that is covered by those two things, ESSER funding and then our summer projects that we didn't get covered for. So again, that annual deficit surplus, what are we looking at? Last year we had that surplus. This year's budgeted deficit is gonna be about 70 grand. And when everything shakes out, it'll probably be a little bit better than that, but we try to be a little bit pessimistic on our expenditure side, right? And being for some things that probably won't happen. Which means that when you put that $70,000 and you work that into our M289 index, we're budgeting, we're projecting, remember that budget is just a projection. We're projecting that come the end of this fiscal year, we're up $9.1 million. And I think it's really important that we stop right here for a big picture moment. When you look at these numbers and you look at the amount of money that we have put in the bank, taken a little out, put in the bank, this is pretty stable over the course of this 4 or 5 year period. And in that time, you air conditioned all of our buildings and spent $4.2 million on building improvements. And it hasn't impacted the bottom line. That's a celebration as far as I'm concerned. That's so huge. Couldn't be more proud of the fact that we've been able to do that, that you have been so instrumental in getting that done for our community. I can't thank you enough. When we look at the ESSER impact, like I said, this gets messy in a hurry. Last year, the ESSER impact was actually about $500,000 to the good. Sorry, to the bad. It made us look worse than we actually were. The ESSER impact on this year's budget is about $643,000 to the good. So it actually makes us look better. Again, it's the way those revenues and expenditures hit over the course of this summer and that change in fiscal year. So when you look at the structural budget, if you try to back some of that out, so kind of without ESSER, instead of $600,000 last year, we really probably would have put about $1.1 million in the bank. And without ESSER this year, we would have probably had about a $700,000 deficit. Which, a $700,000 deficit sounds like a lot. You figure, right off the top, there's $900,000 in HVAC work that wasn't covered by grants, right? So in a normal year, we're automatically in a surplus situation again. So, where are we? There we go, bottom line. We're budgeting to overspend by about $70,000 this year. And considering all that we're continuing to get done and the bills that we're continuing to pay, it really doesn't get much better than that. Thoughts, questions, points of clarity?
I have some questions, but I don't know. I have a bunch, so if anyone else wants to go. Amanda, you in? So, when you talk about the current index numbers sitting where they are.
Yep.
So just for a point of clarity for everyone here, that money's been sitting there for many, many years, essentially. I mean, we ticked away at it for a while, but that money was money that was a debt that the board took out and it's been sitting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, one, do you kind of know roughly what that is as far as our percentage of savings, for lack of a better word, as far as like our fund balance goes? I think best practice is like 20%, right?
So in a quote unquote normal year,
Yeah.
we're looking at probably spending between $14 and $15 million. Let's just call our annual budget $15 million, just to be on the high side. Okay, so 9/15 is 60%.
Okay.
So yeah, so in the public school world, ISBE has what they call their school designation system for finance. It's kind of like a quick little report card on the financial health of your district. In order to have the gold standard on how much money you have in the bank, anything over 50% is the gold standard. And so us being in the ballpark of probably 60 or 65%, a lot of districts would really like to do this.
Okay, so that leads to a couple additional questions, and not that I'm questioning this, just information I think needs to be shared, and I know will be part of this, video and everything moving forward, but, when you're sitting on that volume of money, and then you look at some of the projects that we're looking at with creating like long-term debt, why not just pull from that, and why not just say, well, we have this much money in the bank, so we were gonna do all these school things, and we were gonna do all this security improvement or whatnot, so we'll just pull all that out of there and pay for it all at once, and we're done. Why don't school districts do that?
Yeah, so you want to make sure when you're running an organization that you have money earmarked in case what I always refer to as the structural part of your budget. So the things that you have every year, salaries and benefits and the pieces that regardless of what else you're doing with respect to facilities or curriculum, you're always going to have those costs. If for some reason your revenues drop, because there are pieces about our revenue stream that are economy based, and if for some reason our revenues were to start to drop, or if for some reason our expenditures were to accelerate, you want to make sure that you have enough money in hand that you can absorb some of those either increases or decreases that don't go in your favor without resorting to, oh, we've had 2 bad years in a row, now we have to start cutting programs, now we have to start cutting this, right? And so there does need to be that buffer in place, but it's an excellent point is, at some point in time, that buffer's too much. And so that's a great conversation.
Which, to point out, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a year, several years ago, when the budget was stalled at the state level, and schools were asked to provide how many days of money they could keep their doors open, and we were not at a great,
No.
I mean, our days were small.
Yep.
So, it's a good thing. Do you know roughly what the impact of evidence-based funding, which we should see over the course of the next many, many years, slight increases to, more so as we remain one of the lower funded districts, like what, approximately how much of that budget increase? You said 2.5 million was ESSER. Is EBF pretty much the,
No, it's actually not. With us, the EBF increases, historically, in the, in the last couple of years, have only been between $100,000 or $150,000 a year. And so our, just our natural growth of local property taxes is way more than what our state funds should
okay, so we don't have the actuals for EBF yet?
be. We do, I do
Okay,
not have
it's
that.
just nothing significant.
It's,
Okay.
right, it's not nearly as significant, correct.
When you talked about the actual and budgeted FY '23 budgets, you talked about a $70,000 deficit in the actuals, and that includes, the ESSER money. When you back that ESSER money out, that number goes to $713,000.
Correct.
Can you just give us a couple of highlights on why? Because I think an average person going, oh, a district's budgeting to be $700,000 in the hole. That doesn't seem like a very healthy budget.
Sure. If you'll recall, our large summer project, about $4.2 million, give or take. And we were able to cover about $3.1 million of that with grants. The majority of which leaves us to pay $1.1 million of that. Okay, the vast majority of our portion has yet to be paid. And so of that $713,000, more than $900,000 of it is just off the HVAC project that we have been paying for. We haven't paid our share for. And so, obviously, we don't do $4 million projects every summer.
Right.
And so if that project hadn't been there, we'd be looking at having a surplus.
Okay, and I think that's an important point that we didn't specifically make, but, ESSER funds isn't something we have all the time, but neither is a $4 million air conditioning project. So this $700 million deficit without ESSER, like you said, when you take that $900,000 project out, it's not that we're running the district on an enormous deficit budget. These are like one-time things throwing off our normal operational numbers. So minus that big project, operationally speaking, we're looking.
We would be putting money in the bank this year.
Okay.
Correct.
And what, in that, these numbers, the 23 numbers, account for the new, contract for teachers and all the new
Correct.
salaries for non-certs?
Correct.
Okay. That's all my questions. Okay. Guess that's it.
Awesome. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Northbrook.
Here's your clicker. I'll go get it.
Clicker? I don't know how to click.
That's the fancy word for it.
Yeah, super fancy.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. I know you know, I'm Paula Daly, principal at Northbrook.
I'm Emery Burdette, the assistant principal at Northbrook.
So, I am gonna let you know that Brad is right. We had our open house the other night and people were, overwhelmed with how beautiful the school looks when you walk in the gym. And a mom told the story that we had our first home basketball game the other night. She said she was looking at the pictures and she kept zooming and she was like, I wonder who they played. I wonder what gym they're at. Who did they play? And it was our gym, and a lot of people just haven't seen it. A lot of people didn't, even school supply drop-off night didn't go into the gym or see it. So it is beautiful. I was admiring your background of your budget. I was like, oh, look at how sharp our gym looks in the background. So we are here to present about Spartan Smart. This year, Mr. Burdette is really taking over it with the committee and working on it. This is our positive behavior incentive program for kids. It's made up of a committee of teachers in the building, Mr. Burdette and I. As the years have progressed through COVID, we lost a lot of ability to kind of do all the fun things that we used to do in assemblies and things like that. So this is the year we're bringing it all back pretty strong.
And we are working with student council.
Mhm.
So Mr. Hanson and Mrs. Perryman helping us out with that as well.
Do you wanna do this?
Sure. So, a lot of words up here, but basically it's our incentive-based program for positive behavior. So we're reinforcing all of that positive behavior in the classroom, outside the school. We see kids help other students pick up their supplies. We hand them Spartan Smart tickets. And then they end up taking those to the office and submit it into the grade level bins. And so that we have, well, historically, we've given them rewards once they're drawn. Last year it was Casey's gift cards and McDonald's vouchers. The kids loved it. Casey's was the best one, I think, that we had the most reaction for. So yeah, they drop them off. Tickets can be for anything a teacher sees, hears, sees, asks for. A whole class turns in their homework, all kind acts, great questions in the classroom, good sportsmanship, all of it just gets rewarded. So we're really pushing the teachers as well to make sure that they are rewarding the kids. We want to kind of build on that climate and culture. So we're really trying to enforce that.
And it is really interconnected with our Second Step social emotional program that we do every Friday in all the classrooms, where we kind of reinforce that talking about how you feel and all of those things. And so I went on PBIS website the other day just to see if we are in a line with what they're doing, because we have made this completely Northbrooky and middle schooly. It is not, you don't go to a little crate and pick out a little toy. So we have tried to really accommodate a middle school kid and what we're giving, what we're rewarding even. And I was really excited to look on PBIS how they have really turned theirs into a social emotional thing as well. We're trying to interconnect all of those things at the school and bring all of the same things together. When we say good job, we say why it's a good job and how it affected people and things like that. So we're trying to really tie those things in. And we're hitting them hard with the tickets right now, so they're pretty happy about that. We haven't even given a single prize yet, and I'm gonna tell you what, they're so excited about the tickets, and they know something big is coming. So the history of Spartan Smart is two teachers 7 years ago, Katie March and Lauren Summers. They went to a conference on culture and climate. They came back and they created the whole thing over a summer on their own. And they did such a fantastic job. If you are in our school, you can see the banners are hanging in the hallways that specifically state what SMART is for. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Our favorite part of the day, and if you spend any time in my office, I will completely interrupt you when a student walks by with their tickets, because they walk by like this. They want us to see, they walk right by the door, they walk by the door, and they're holding the ticket and they're looking, they want to make eye contact, and I make a huge deal. Mr. Burdette does too when they're putting that in the bucket.
They have multiple, they'll do one at a time.
Yeah, and they never take their eyes off us when they're putting them in the bucket, and it's fantastic. It's the best part of the day, and it does not matter what I'm doing in my office at that moment. I stop everything and I go, great job, what did you do? And we make it a big deal, because it is a big deal. I want them to know those are the things that we're so proud of. And if it's, sometimes kids will be embarrassed by, oh, well, I picked up a pencil off the ground. Thanks for keeping our school clean. We're very appreciative. We want them to know, but I wish everybody could have that moment of a proud kid, and we get it all day long, so it's fantastic.
Do you think it's the same kids over and over, or is
No.
it really
No.
variety?
I think the teachers are doing a really good job of making sure that everybody's getting those tickets. If you look, the 8th grade bucket does not have a lot, because they're not there yet. They're not motivated yet. 5th grade's almost full, 6th grade's almost full, 7th grade's about half, and 8th. They are gonna bring them in when we start talking next week about what we're doing on Wednesday. They'll bring them in handfuls.
They stash them in their
Yeah.
locker and wait.
And they're
They wanna
gonna
make
wait to
sure-
see
they wanna-
what's gonna happen. So
They wanna
they're,
increase their odds, and if it's a good reward,
yeah, they're
they'll
gonna
try.
put the whole
Funny.
handful in. So, yeah, they understand odds at 8th grade, so they're
funny.
getting it. The smartest strive for success, make our school a better place, actively participate. That was one that we all agreed, we wanted that one more than anything when we were creating this. That we want kids to be able to have a voice and to participate in their school and their culture and climate. Respect all people and property and treat others as you want to be treated. The rules of life, right there.
So, as I said earlier, we're collaborating with student council, and so we're gonna work together to run some special events. Last year and the year before, there weren't very many of these, and so in our committee, we're kind of discussing the possibility of a movie night. So allowing all the kids to come back, maybe getting one of the projectors outside and play the movie against the side of the building. School dances, student parent competitive game night, whether that be basketball, a dodgeball game, parents versus students. So we've kind of been going back, volleyball, going over those ones. And student parent trivia night, because we have adult trivia night, but let's incorporate the students.
Sell
Maybe there
tickets
can be
and
some
make
of that
money.
motivation.
Huh?
Sell tickets and make money with it.
Yeah, well, and we feel like, what we really wanna do is have, more family events, within the school that are, when we have our, dodgeball tournament or our volleyball tournament, whichever one we have at the end of the year, you can't get a seat. It's packed. People wanna do things with their kids. So it's that simple. I think we're gonna get there, but we needed help, and we thought the student council kids are gonna help us plan it and work it, and that's gonna kinda help us be able to have these events.
Is there any tie-in with the Spartan Smart as far as like, is it you have to have had one to come or like anything?
You have to have had like a Spartan Smart ticket? No.
No.
Mm-mm. Nope, anybody can come.
Okay.
Our sole fundraiser for Spartan Smart is the annual trivia night that we have at the Mendota Elks. It'll be, I think this will be our 4th or 5th one coming up. We're having it this year on November 4th. So we get donations, and then what we do is we do one raffle basket per grade level. So we get the parents in on it, and we have them come up with a theme, whatever it is, and then they put together a huge basket. So there's those baskets, and then if we can get like a couple big donations from the community. So it's not 1,000 things to raffle off, because we just don't have a community for that. Not that many people have been coming historically to our trivia nights. Last year, we posted pictures and people could buy the tickets online. So you can buy however we do it, 50 tickets and put them in each basket, however many you want to get your name drawn. And then we do a 50-50 that night. Every penny goes to the Spartan Smart Rewards, and all of the prizes that we give out, which last year was truly gift cards to Marcelloni's and Casey's and even Beck's. The kids asked for Beck's ones because they could get ice cream and things like that. And those are the places they walk to after school. That's where they want to go with their friends, those 3 places, and hang out. So those were the big gift cards.
How much money approximately does that bring in?
Trivia night?
Trivia night, gosh, about $1,500 by the end of it. So it's it's a great night. It's super, it's simple to put together. The teachers are great about decorating. We hire Charles Van Horn, and he brings the questions and does the emceeing for us. And it's kind of an easy night, and it's a super fun night, and I say 10 o'clock, it ends, it never ends at 10 o'clock. So it's a really great night for parents.
Last year we were board conference.
Yeah, last year was.
I thought we were gone, yeah.
Yeah, and I know already this year, like a lot of teachers are putting together tables, and it's gonna be, I think there's a lot of smack talk between 7th and 6th
goodness.
grade. I'm just prepping
They
everybody.
started.
The teachers, yeah, so they're already kind of prepping for it, but it's just a great night out, you know? We try and look at the high school athletic schedule. so that on Friday nights, we always have it on a Friday night so that everybody can kind of have a chance to come. We really think that the number one perfect prize for a middle schooler is the $5 Casey's gift card. It's just what they begged for. When we switch it around a little bit, they're like, oh, thanks. Oh, you can tell I want that Casey's gift card. So this year we're gonna add incentives that don't cost as much, because there are kids who these are things that they want to do as well. I think listening to music in study hall is going to blow their minds. I think that is something they're really gonna love. Use the teacher's chair for a class period. Who doesn't want wheels on their chair? Computer games, eating lunch with the person, whoever you want to, principal for a class period. I will hand them any state report to fill out. They can do that all day long.
Oh, great.
for me.
Those will be fun.
Yeah,
Might get
exactly.
rejected.
Exactly. I think that's it. I think that's the end of our presentation, but we are really evolving with it, and coming out of COVID, we're really excited, and the kids are too, and we just seated our student council, so we have our first meeting next Thursday, but next Wednesday is our first big event for the kids.
Smart assembly. So we're gonna start the day out, all the students in the gym, and we're gonna do a ticket count. So we're gonna have student council stand in front of their grade levels, and they're gonna total how many tickets are in their bins. And so we're gonna have a year-long competition between the grades, who can earn the most tickets. So maybe we can start to push the 8th graders to submit theirs. Maybe it'll have a backfire, and
Will
they're
that
gonna
have
save
a
them to the end
prize
of the
for
year and
them,
jump.
whichever grade wins?
Yeah, we'll,
A game day.
before we had always done a picnic, one of those last days, like they get to go to the track and have the track themselves and we cook out and do all of that. That is what we've done before, but I think we'll probably talk about it a little bit, but they love that. That's a great afternoon for them. Yeah.
And at that assembly, it's not just the ticket count, that's where we're gonna draw our winners. So that's where students get to come down from the bleachers and come down in front of everybody in the middle of the gym and receive their rewards.
And then we may throw in a little athletic competition with some of the winners and the teachers, because they love that also. So we're really I'm really excited for Wednesday, because the kids are so excited to put their tickets in the bin, and now they're gonna kind of reap those rewards. And we just had such a positive start to everything this year. And I really do wanna reiterate thank you for the air conditioning. I can't even tell, I almost am gonna get teary, how life-changing that has been for us. It's the amount of calm and enjoyable time in the building. And I told Brad the other day, I stopped in on a Sunday to pick stuff up, and it was like it was a Tuesday. There were so many teachers there. That was unheard of before, because that's the last place you wanted to go. Teachers are staying later, they're coming in earlier, it's just life-changing. So thank you for that decision, and how the building looks, phenomenal, and everybody's proud of where they are. It's beautiful. It's been such a beautiful beginning. So thank you very much for all of that.
Well, I of course want the kids to get what they want, and if it's Casey's card, so be it, but we talk a lot about community and, helping our local businesses grow, and I know we don't have a lot of those either, but, is that more doable, or just?
Sure.
Just thinking of,
So after this one, I think what we're gonna have student council do, once we get them seated, is survey the kids. What do you want? Where do you want tickets to? What do you want? We gave out movie theater tickets for a while, and the kids were like, I can't go, I don't have a way there, and things like that. So, I also think like maybe a gas card with the movie tickets. Things like that we could start doing and thinking a little broader now that COVID's over.
Yeah, I just think we're members of the chamber now, and we're
Those
trying to
chamber
support.
bucks things work at any business.
Yeah, most. Mhm.
Yeah, any business
They
within this,
participate.
but most of them are, and that might be a nice
Yeah.
gesture. The other thing I thought of is just more things to do and be part of, so I wondered, like, the mega passes for the carnival. Like, would the
Mhm.
chamber be willing to donate one or two or something
Mhm.
near the end? Like, are there things going on already that we could tap into to get
Yeah, events. Mhm.
things, because like you said, they can't get out of this area, but what's going on in this area?
Right.
Like, could we get some day passes to the Y or to the Y summer camp, or
Right.
like some
Bowling at the Elks, yeah, things like
yeah,
that.
things
Yeah.
where we get them out to do positive things in their town
Sure.
and not just all gift cards. A question I have, is there anything that you do similar? I absolutely love the program. Is there anything you do similar to keep up this same climate and culture with the staff?
No, I'm gonna say that we don't have a program in place, for it. We have like Friday treat days, everybody takes turns and they do it in groups. I guess no, because I think we started this program, that many years ago because the culture and climate was not the best staff-wise. Now it's very good, and so I guess I don't think about that, in that way, but I guess I should change that. But we have a pretty good group.
Right. It's going well. Not that it would need to be an improvement thing. I just wondered if it, like, modeling for kids that even when you're an adult,
Right.
like, people acknowledge that when you go out of your way to do something right. It
Right, well,
matters.
we used to do, at the assemblies, this was quite a few years ago, we used to do at the assemblies, so teachers would write, I nominate another teacher, and they
Yeah.
would write why, like, I saw them doing this, or I heard this through my wall, or
Yeah.
whatever, and they would submit it in my box, and so at the same time we would draw the Spartan Smart, we would draw the teacher ones, and they were like, we don't wanna get up in front of kids, and I'm like, you're up in front of kids all day, and so it's a humbling to have to,
It is.
but we could definitely work on that for
I just
sure.
think it'd be cool for the kids to see that it doesn't go away, that
Right.
those foundational principles that you're teaching them are important your whole life.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. I think our teachers are phenomenal role models for the kids and
100%.
doing good things, and I think, giving those tickets is great for them, so,
Maybe if
I-
they don't want to be acknowledged up front, even just passing out like a teacher ticket.
yes.
If you don't
Yeah,
have
I-
the specific
I give,
story, but it'd be kind of fun to see them.
I give them these little passes, that whenever I hear or see something a teacher doing, they get it in their mailbox for me with a little, note, great job, thank you, because I think a lot of their good deeds do go undone because it's just them being a natural human
Right,
being.
right.
And so it's one of those things that people don't think about, the amount of interactions you have with a kid in a day.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
how important it is to keep that attitude up and all of those things, so, but
And
no, I
maybe if,
definitely am open to that.
If it's hard for them to do it within each other, because you feel humbled and then you feel
Mhm.
embarrassed that so-and-so wrote in about you and whatnot,
Mhm.
but maybe even just an avenue where, parents or students could have even an online form to fill out and like thank their
Yeah,
teacher
that's awesome.
for, the things that they do. I know try to go out of the way and like send an email, and it just seems like just that acknowledgement
100%.
means so
I
much.
can't tell you, last year, at the very end of the year, we got this really wonderful email from a mom whose kids had gone through our system and it was her last kid leaving, and she sent an email to me that was so beautifully written about our teachers and the system that we have, and I read it at the last faculty meeting, and they were all like, because they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know unless you tell them, otherwise they're just doing their thing and they don't realize how impactful they are, so,
Very cool.
yeah.
Do you feel like the fundraising that you have from that one event sustains the program the way you want it to be sustained, or do you feel like that's a need still within the?
I feel like it's the perfect fundraiser for that. Would I like more money? Yes, but I think we do fundraise a lot. I do think we do for other things that are bigger and more substantial, and I feel like with the McDonald's things that we get for free, and a few of the other things, I feel like we do okay.
Okay. I was
So-
saying, because you've got it like curricularly based, as far as like the SEL and PBIS
Mhm.
stuff goes,
Yeah.
like it really, I would hate for you to not be able to do what you want to with the program
Yeah.
if you don't have the resources, because it does tied right into our curricular goals and our board goals, so I'd wanna make sure that the resources
Yeah.
are needed, that you let us know.
I feel like this year we're gonna really, as soon as it turns to probably the second week of October, hammer out this trivia night and get as many people as we can. I just think COVID really made our numbers go down and people didn't wanna go out and they didn't wanna be sitting inside somewhere, but I think maybe everybody's ready now. So I'm hoping this year we just have a huge blowout there. It should be good.
My only last request is, this is all such great information, I was wondering if you could write up a mini summary on it and like, cause what I hate is that people always think of the principal's office as the disciplinary location, right? And you're doing such a great job of turning it into this positive behavior and focusing on that, and that, you know, sometimes gets overshadowed by one or two big fights or behavior incidents or whatever. So I think it'd be really cool if you're able to share some information on like approximately how many you had last year or how many you're gonna draw from this coming week, and then maybe even put this presentation with it and just share it out on that feed that goes to the app and the website and social media and stuff, because I think it's important for the community to see
Yeah,
the really
I like
cool
that.
positive things that you're doing, so,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you.
So as I had alluded to earlier, we're gonna have these three presentations by rotating administrators, and so we'll continue that in the months to come.
That's great.
Nice job, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before we move on, I think you two need official permission to go home. Please. Thank you so much for staying and for all that you're doing, but you don't need to sit through the rest of the meeting. You have school in the morning, we know
Unless you
it.
really want to.
It's the last day of the book fair tomorrow, that might be the,
I know you've had stuff every night.
yes.
Not that
Thank
we're
you.
counting down.
Enjoy your evening, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Consideration of committees and reports, we didn't have any.
I
Right?
did have, if you don't mind, I did have just another
Oh,
couple
yes.
real quick things. We're in the process of finalizing, I think with Hy-Vee, if memory serves, we're gonna have an on-site flu vaccine and COVID booster for staff at the first part of October. So we're trying to do what we can to keep that moving. Also having really good success and conversation. We've had some really good committee meetings and surveys with respect to our initiative to make the student experience more cohesive. You know, from a kid's point of view, as they move from grade level to grade level, and then also technology implementation. And so we'll continue to report out as we continue to matriculate those two big areas forward.
What are some of the key topics going on in technology right now?
So right now, we've just finished surveying the staff, trying to get a feel for where we might need to do some additional professional development before we move to the next phase. You know, we were just having conversation, the principal and the staff member, Katie March, who's kind of spearheading the kind of one-to-one. You know, we would really like to think that, you know, we'll have some sort of deployment this school year, and so just to make sure that our staff has the support that they need before we do that. So, thank you. I apologize.
No, you said survey and it reminded me, the COVID testing survey that went out, did we not have enough to do the site?
So we didn't. Shield has said that we have to have 50 per location, and we don't have 50 at any location. And so the nurses and I are trying to put our heads together to see if there's anything else we can do.
Okay. All right, so then if we don't have any board reports, we'll move on to action items, the press policy. That one was just the ones that we reviewed
Correct.
last time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So they're,
Nothing controversial.
okay. Does anyone have any questions on that? No? Okay, so then if we could have a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve press policy 109 as presented.
We have a second,
Second.
and then roll call.
Cox?
Yes.
Kane?
Yep.
Camitas?
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Why don't I exist?
Uh,
You say you want to do it's gotta be going to your form, because when you sign it, it'll, like, have you open up the U2F or this soccer authentication.
Would you do a different email to M289?
okay, item 6B on here, the budget. Do we have any additional questions? I believe the most, Socorro sent us one yesterday. The PDF version of that budget is in your email. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, it's the full version of the summary that we just reviewed. If there's no questions, could we please have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the FY '23 budget as presented.
And a second?
Second.
And roll call, please.
Schrader,
Yes.
Cost,
Yep.
Kane,
Yep.
Komitas.
Yes. Our annual EIS, that's a required, do you wanna give it 1
Yeah,
second
so
to do?
so the EIS, basically, by law, you have to take all of the creditable earnings that you are reporting to TRS and make that report. Not only have it board approved, but to put it on the website as well. And so it's basically the salary and creditable earnings of all certified employees in the district. And so we approved this, that was just recently been submitted to TRS. It's the actuals of what we did last year.
Okay. Do we have any questions on that? Okay, if not, could we have a motion, please? You're on a roll, Kristen.
I make a motion to approve the annual EIS report as presented.
In a second,
Second.
and roll call.
Cost,
Yep.
Kane,
Yes.
Komitas,
Yes.
and Schrader.
Okay, just gonna have items, I conference.
Just to start to have those conversations, looks like we have 12 total going. Our board dinner is.
Wait, you have 12 going? Oh,
Including
including
spouses.
spouses. I'm like, wait a minute, there's not that many people.
I'm bringing Casey this year.
What?
Yeah.
He doesn't exist.
He does.
He does exist. And so, our board dinner is Friday night, this year, and it is, we are being, hosted by GRP Wegman. They are, hosting our board dinner, and they obviously have quite a few clients, and so, at that same dinner, will also be Earlville's board. And so, our friend at GRP Wegman, Scott Engstrom, thought that would be a really nice fit.
So
Very
instead
nice.
of a dinner out like we normally do.
It's gonna be a dinner out.
But it'll be at, like, that one we did that one time. Right,
They're just sponsoring it.
Right.
Like the cost of it.
right,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friday night.
Are there any other vendors that we've worked with?
I'm sorry,
Go
can I ask
ahead.
what?
No, go ahead.
Are our spouses allowed
Yeah.
to come with us to that one? Okay. okay.
Everywhere.
So this is that one. This is that same one that we've done out before.
Okay.
It's just that it's gonna be, sponsored, and that is
Yeah.
common practice when a law firm or a
Yep.
engineering or architect or someone do that, so that's great.
I'm sitting next to Susan.
Susan coming?
So Robin Schwartz will have a hospitality Friday night.
Okay, I was gonna ask that question.
Yeah. And so.
Ahead of that dinner?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And so, this is not Scott's first rodeo, so, work together to put together that.
And we get like little
Yep.
cards and tells us where they all are.
Yes,
everything.
and I will collect all of those, and as they come across my desk here in about the next maybe 2 weeks or so, I'll put together kind of a little packet for you. And so then if you all were or groups of you want to do something Saturday night, I know a lot of times that's kind of on your own. One night historically we've done something as a group. The other night it's been kind of on your own. And so if you need any help with any of that, reservations anywhere, don't hesitate to
Childcare.
give us.
Did you hear that?
I've got a 2-year-old.
I know, it's
Love
perfect.
them. Coming in those doors.
No, Saturday night, Jan and I have a nice quiet
That's
Well,
what
you
you
just had a birthday
thought.
night, you're fine.
That's great.
Good stuff. So no, I think we're in good shape there, and so if you have any questions at all, reach out. We'll help coordinate and look you up.
What do you need to know if I still think it'll be fun, but if I need to cancel, I'm optimistic. You know, I will be due quite soon around that time, and sometimes I'm not fun.
You let us know whatever you need.
I'll just do like usually by October, right?
It's
You mean for cancellation
Just
purposes?
in case, you know.
I don't,
Yes. It's
I don't, when,
for the annual conference, October.
October. I say otherwise, I know if we can't, then
Mandy doesn't get to come out and play.
we, if we can't get somebody to fill or if it comes too close to it, don't feel bad, like, don't go if it doesn't make sense for you to not go. I mean, we could ask an administrator or someone else that could benefit
Yep.
from some of the classes to be
Yep,
there,
we can
so.
we can certainly
Yeah.
take care of all that. You just
I did really feel like we lost each other on Saturday. I mean, I'm sure you guys have done this 100 times, but when I was there last year, still new. I mean, I'm still gonna be new for a long time, but I like the camaraderie that we had Friday night when we did our dinner. And then it was like, up, bye, see ya. You
Well,
know.
even if we wanted stuff Saturday night on our own, we could do like even just a quick, like, in that
2
cocktail
o'clock or-
lounge
Oh, I like
thing,
that.
like just a meet
Yeah.
up,
Yep.
so that we do have a chance to touch base, cause
So
it
go
was
to the
fun to kinda
parade.
share stuff.
oh,
You know, the parade was, I went down last year on the ground level and went to it. It was nice though, it wasn't cold out. But Peter watched it from the room and his pictures were 1,000 times better than mine.
The parade was bad last year. I watched it from my room too. It was like right on the corner,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but literally I had to like sit there for. Remember, it's like 5 minutes. It's like
Nothing
When-
happened.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
huge spaces between each
Yeah, I
thing, and
couldn't
then, like, some
imagine
things
being on the
broke
ground. That would've
down,
been terrible.
and yeah, it was chaotic, but
yeah.
yeah, that sounds like a great place to be like 9 months pregnant.
Yeah,
and
I'm like, I
parade
really-
in downtown Chicago.
I'm so Amanda in my head, but my body's like, no, you're not.
Just let us know what's going on.
And they're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and-
for early labor.
And like Teresa said, we can cover and make productive regardless of what's going on. So even if it's a week before, you say, hey, look, I'm out. We'll figure it out. All good, of course.
We do need to choose delegate though for
Oh.
that. Let's put that on the board meeting agenda for
I
next
think we told Sarah it was her turn this year, didn't we?
month.
Sorry, I'm so late.
Oh, it's
All
okay.
good.
Basketball practice.
So we can put that on the board agenda for October.
Yeah.
We should have that booklet by then, right?
Yeah, we
The
should
app,
have.
I think, is already out, or I
Yeah,
thought
'cause
I saw
that's-
something.
No, the booklet,
It's the middle of October.
the one
so
for the
yeah.
delegate assembly?
It tells you what's
Sorry,
gonna be
yeah.
discussed and
which
what's gonna be
things-
I
voted
do
on.
agree that I remember us volunteering Sarah for that.
She
so.
said she wasn't ready this year, but next year
I'm
she
pretty,
was.
yeah. So
I remember it. 'cause
we'll
it
just let her
wasn't
know
me.
that we've signed her up.
That's what happens when you miss meetings, right?
Hey, I am advocating for Sarah. I told her it was okay to stay home, so we are not assigning that now. We have to do that when she's here.
course,
She can
yes.
speak up for herself.
Yes, of
So yeah, let's make sure we put that on, and then hopefully we'll have those. That is for those of you that haven't been there before. Each year, the Association of School Boards does have an arm in advocacy, and so they like where the funds are allocated to as far as like lobbying to and from things and which things they're trying to bring forward as far as legislation goes from the association's perspective. Schools and organization like schools can present things to be considered as far as like a possible option of something coming up, and then so sometimes it can be very controversial things, and like we'll have Channel 7 News there watching the delegate, and so the organization that presents it brings it, states it, And then people can public speak on either side of the topic, and then they'll call it to vote. And the majority, then it's either passes or fails, and that becomes a potential advocacy topic for the organization. So each school board would send someone, but we wanna try to do ahead of that is take a look at what are the things that are up on the docket and look at them and feel, because if there were things that were potentially controversial within our own world, we'd wanna kinda get a feeling for where our board is before we send one person in there to cast the vote for us. So that's what it is when we talk about the delegate assembly. All right, nothing else with that for now? You don't need anything else for that right now, right? Okay. So yeah, as you build the schedule, I do think something on Saturday, I haven't seen the overall schedule yet, but I think maybe a touch base on Saturday would be a great idea.
Love it.
Okay. So transfer of funds.
So during the budgeting process, if we don't do anything, we will run the operation and maintenance fund, which is Fund 20. We will run it into a negative balance. The auditors really don't like it when you take one of your funds negative for the year. So we will, during the course of this budget, we'll transfer $1 million from life safety over to operation and maintenance. And so it's a little bit of a process. We have to do some notifications, we'll have to do a resolution, but that will happen most likely next month. We just wanted to let everybody know what was going on. With that, it's not, again, it's just moving money.
Very good. Okay. Do we have a need for executive session?
Did we have something about bond review?
A teacher contract, there's some wording in the teacher contract.
Right, but I also, didn't we have a discussion item on bond repayment?
There was another one, yes, for bond repayment.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't transfer over to board, but we also had a, just a real quick.
Oh, an
just-
informational item?
Yeah, just a
Okay.
real quick, kind of heads up. I know that, we've had conversations with Sheriff Wegman. Scott was here, he's gonna come back, in October. We're gonna continue conversations, especially, along the vein of security items. What are some things that, as a campus and facility-wise, that we, wanna do? We're gonna continue conversations about roofing, maybe some solar, maybe, kind of a laundry list of things that we might want to do. And so if those costs become significant and we want to have the conversation about actually bonding for those items, to say, look, this is whatever the number is, we want to do $2 million worth of this, and instead of taking that out of our reserves to bond specifically for that, then we're certainly in a spot in our bond repayment where we would be able to do that and would make sense. We only have this December levy and then the next one where we're going to be kind of at our normal levying capacity, our normal levying of about $1 million in debt repayment. And so we could have the conversations about bonding for some of those projects if we choose to do so.
The budget hearing. We still need to do that officially, right?
That we incorporated that within.
We didn't need to adjourn and, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
All good.
So we do wanna go into, is there a question?
Yeah. As long as anybody, I'm not suggesting that we do anything with respect to our bond schedule or any repayment, but I just kinda want everybody to kinda have that on our radar, that if at some point, that if in the next, 6 or 8 months, if we do wanna say, hey, we wanna do these projects, we can bond for them and it will have no impact on our tax rate, which is always a wonderful thing.
Brenda brought up some questions about the teacher contract wording. Is that specific stuff that you need closed session for, or are you just asking in general where it's
No,
at?
it's a
Yep.
program.
Yeah, it's with
The general, okay.
Yep.
Alright, cool, so we don't need executive as far as we know.
So I had said in my report that I was looking to abolish a mechanism that's within the contract. And as long as nobody has any questions on that, we don't need to go into executive session.
Cause that was favorable on both sides.
Yep. The administration and the association are both in favor of doing it. So if we don't, if, that's the only thing I need executive
Okay.
session.
I don't think we do, so there's no other,
It was great that you discussed it and you're doing great.
Of course, of course.
yeah, it's nice to see that
It is.
openness between both sides being able
That's
to
fantastic.
carry things out, cause we sure aren't here every day, it's nice to know that things are running well. Alright, is there anything else? If not, I just show an adjournment on the agenda, unless I'm missing anything, Sakura?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, could we have a motion to adjourn, please?
Nope,
Go
no,
for it.
keep going.
I make a motion to adjourn at 7:35.
A second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we all good, thanks guys.
Awesome.